Captain Vorex Tull of the Galactic Confederation sighed deeply as he stared at the holographic display of the small blue planet. His 4 nostrils flared in mild annoyance, and his upper right tentacle twitched with nervous energy. The command bridge of the starship Inevitable Conquest hummed with activity as his crew prepared for what should have been a simple diplomatic mission. "So that's Earth," he muttered, more to himself than to his executive officer, Plex Daruna. "Doesn't look particularly impressive." Plex, a tall, thin Vendari with pale blue skin and 6 eyes arranged in a perfect hexagon, moved closer to the display. "Appearances can be deceiving, Captain. The reports from intelligence are concerning." "Oh, please." Vorex rolled all 3 of his eyes simultaneously. "I have heard the rumors. Everyone in the Confederation has. Don't mess with the humans. Earth is off limits. Humanity will destroy you if provoked. But look at them. They have barely left their own solar system. They have what? A few hundred orbital stations. A handful of lunar colonies. 1 sad little outpost on Mars. Their ships can't even achieve proper faster-than-light travel without our technology." Vorex's skin shifted to a deeper blue, indicating concern. "That's not the point, sir. Their military capabilities are primitive compared to ours." Vorex interrupted, his tentacles now gesticulating wildly. "We have antimatter weapons. Planet crackers. Gravity manipulators. What do they have? Projectile weapons and crude nuclear devices." "With all due respect, Captain," Plex's voice dropped to a whisper, "you weren't there for the Crixian incident." The bridge fell silent. Even the lowest-ranking crew members paused their activities. The Crixian incident was rarely discussed openly, but everyone knew about it. 10 years ago, the mighty Crixian Empire, with technology far superior to humanity's, had attempted to establish a military presence in Earth's solar system without permission. Within 3 standard months, the Crixian Empire no longer existed. Vorex waved a dismissive tentacle. "Exaggerations and propaganda. The humans got lucky. The Crixians underestimated them. We won't make the same mistake. Our mission is strictly diplomatic," Plex reminded him. "We are here to renegotiate the trade agreements, nothing more." Of course," Vorex agreed, though there was something in his tone that made Plex uncomfortable, "but it doesn't hurt to show a little strength during negotiation." "Captain, I strongly advise." "Your concerns are noted, Executive Officer," Vorex cut him off sharply. "Now, prepare the diplomatic team. I want to be planetside in 2 hours." As Plex hurried away to carry out his orders, Vorex turned to his tactical officer, Suren Burak. Suren was a Morphean, a species known for their adaptive biology and strategic thinking. His skin was a mottled gray, and his 4 arms were busy at the tactical console. "Zurin," Vorex said quietly, "what's our weapons status?" Zurin looked up, surprised. "Sir, this is a diplomatic mission. We are running on minimal offensive capabilities as per Confederation protocols for approaching Earth." "Humor me," Vorex insisted. Zeflen hesitated, then sighed. "We have standard plasma cannons at 100% capacity, defensive shields at full strength, and just one antimatter torpedo in the aft bay for emergency purposes only. The Confederation would never authorize more for a mission to Earth. And our position? High Earth orbit as requested by their Space Defense Force. We are being tracked by at least 15 of their satellites and probably dozens more we can't detect." Vorex nodded slowly. "Keep the shields at maximum and run a continuous scan of their orbital defenses. I want to know exactly what we are dealing with." "Captain," Zevran said cautiously, "may I ask why we need this information for a diplomatic mission?" Vorex stared at the blue planet again. "Let's just say I like to be prepared for all eventualities. The Confederation has been kowtowing to these humans for too long. They are primitives, with a few advanced toys we gave them. It's time someone reminded them of their actual place in the galactic hierarchy." Zurin's expression showed clear discomfort, but he followed orders. 2 hours later, Vorse stood in the shuttle bay with Plex and 4 other crew members selected for the diplomatic mission. They were all dressed in formal Confederation attire, flowing robes of iridescent material that shifted colors with movement. "Remember," Borthax instructed the team, "humans are emotionally volatile and physically fragile. Don't make sudden movements around them, and try not to comment on their bizarre appearance or their disgusting habit of consuming dead matter for sustenance." Plex cleared his throat. "Actually, Captain, humans are remarkably resilient for their size. Their bodies can recover from significant trauma, and they can adapt to a wide range of environments. Also, many species in the Confederation consume organic matter. Vorex glared at his executive officer. Are you an expert on humans now, Plex? I simply reviewed the briefing materials thoroughly, sir. Plex replied calmly. As should anyone engaging in diplomacy with a species that destroyed the Crixian Empire. Again with the Crixians, Vorsak sighed dramatically. Fine, everyone be on your best behavior. Let's get this over with. The shuttle journey to Earth was uneventful. As they descended through the atmosphere, Vorex gazed out at the vast oceans and continental landmasses. It was admittedly a beautiful planet, rich with biodiversity and natural resources. No wonder the humans were so protective of it. They landed at an international spaceport in a region the humans called Switzerland. The facility was impressive for Earth standards, a sprawling complex of sleek buildings and landing pads nestled among snow-capped mountains. As the shuttle doors opened, Vortex was immediately struck by Earth's gravity. It was slightly stronger than what he was accustomed to, making his movements feel sluggish. The air was also different, rich with oxygen and filled with the sense of thousands of different organic compounds. A delegation of humans awaited them on the landing pad. At their center stood a tall human female with dark skin and short curly hair. She wore a crisp blue uniform adorned with various insignia that Vorex assumed denoted her high rank. Captain Vorex Tull, she called out as he descended the ramp. Welcome to Earth. I'm Admiral Amara Thompson, of the United Earth Space Defense Force. We have been expecting you. Vorex extended a tentacle in what he understood to be the human greeting gesture. Admiral Thompson, the Galactic Confederation sends its regards. Admiral Thompson shook his tentacle firmly. We are pleased to host you. Your timing is fortuitous. The Global Council is currently in session and eager to discuss the trade revisions you have proposed. Excellent, Vorex replied, trying to sound sincere. The Confederation values its relationship with Earth and hopes to strengthen our bonds through these negotiations. As do we, Thompson smiled, but Vorex noticed it didn't reach her eyes. If you and your team will follow me, we have prepared accommodations for you. The formal talks begin tomorrow morning. As they followed the human delegation toward a sleek transport vehicle, Plex leaned close to Vorex. They seem amenable to negotiations, Captain. This might be easier than anticipated. Of course they are amenable, Vorex whispered back. They need our technology. Without the FTL drives we provided, they'd still be trapped in this pathetic solar system. A young human male walking nearby slowed his pace, and Vorex realized with embarrassment that the human might have overheard him. The human's hearing was supposedly quite acute. The male, an aide to Admiral Thompson, judging by his uniform, gave Vorex a cold look before hurrying ahead. Their accommodations were in a luxurious facility that seemed designed specifically for off-world visitors. The environmental controls in each suite could be adjusted to match the atmospheric conditions of various homeworlds, and the furnishings were adaptable to different physiologies. After settling in, the Confederation team gathered in Vorex's suite for a pre-negotiation briefing. Tomorrow, Vorex explained, we present the Confederation's new terms. The humans have been getting technology transfers at absurdly favorable rates. That ends now. We will demand higher prices for all technological exchanges, particularly for military applications. Plex frowned. Captain, our instructions from Central Command were to negotiate modest increases, not dramatic changes. We don't want to antagonize them. The Confederation is too afraid of these humans, Vorex insisted. Look how they have accommodated us. They are desperate to please. It's not the behavior of a dominant species, it's the behavior of one that knows its place but is trying to hide it. A junior diplomat, Trislavan, spoke up. Captain, with respect, I believe you are misinterpreting their hospitality. Humans place great value on diplomatic protocols, and their technological progress over the past 50 years has been unprecedented. They have adapted our FTL technology in ways even our engineers find innovative. Vorex dismissed her concerns with a flick of his tentacle. Innovation born of desperation. Without us, they'd be nothing. It's time they remembered that. The meeting continued for another hour, with Vorex outlining his aggressive negotiation strategy despite the growing discomfort of his team. When they finally dispersed to their own quarters, Plex lingered behind. Captain, he said quietly, I must formally object to this approach. It contradicts our orders and could jeopardize our relationship with Earth. Vorex's skin darkened with irritation. Your objection is noted, Executive Officer, but I am in command of this mission, and we will proceed as I have outlined. Vorex hesitated, then nodded stiffly and left. Alone in his quarters, Vorex activated a secure communication channel to the inevitable conquest. Zarin, he said when the tactical officer's face appeared on the screen, what have you learned about their defenses? Captain, Zetrin replied, his voice tense, I must advise against whatever you are planning. Their orbital defense network is impressive, more sophisticated than our intelligence suggested. And there's something else. What? They have surrounded our ship with what appear to be defensive platforms. Small, stealthy satellites that weren't there when we arrived. They are monitoring us closely, sir. Vorex laughed. As expected. They are cautious. But these are just precautions. Their technology is still inferior to ours. Sir, I'm not so sure about that, Zarin said carefully. Some of these platforms are emitting energy signatures, unlike anything in our database. And there are unusual quantum fluctuations around the planet that our sensors can't fully analyze. Your concerns are noted, Vorex said dismissively. Continue monitoring and maintain alert status. Tull out. The next morning, the diplomatic team was escorted to the Global Council chambers, an impressive circular building with a transparent dome that offered views of the surrounding mountains. Inside, representatives from all of Earth's major nations and colonies were seated in ascending tiers. At the center of the chamber was a round table where the Confederation delegates would sit opposite the human negotiating team. Admiral Thompson was present, along with several other high-ranking military officials and civilian leaders. The human at the center of their delegation, presumably their chief negotiator, was a middle-aged male with gray hair and sharp features. Captain Tull, he greeted Vorex as they approached the table. I'm Director Liam Parker of the Earth Diplomatic Corps. Welcome to the Global Council, Director Parker. Vorex replied with what he hoped was an appropriate show of respect. We are honored to be here. As they took their seats, Vorex noticed subtle security measures throughout the chamber, human guards positioned at each entrance, small devices embedded in the walls that were likely scanners or weapons, and the slight shimmer of what could only be an energy shield surrounding the central area. These humans are paranoid, he whispered to Plex. Cautious, Plex corrected. There's a difference. Director Parker opened the proceedings with a brief statement about the history of human-Confederation relations, emphasizing the mutual benefits of their alliance. When it was Vorex's turn to speak, he decided to deviate from the carefully prepared statement approved by Confederation Central Command. Esteemed representatives of Earth, he began, the Galactic Confederation values our relationship with your world. For 50 of your years we have shared our advanced technology with humanity, helping you take your first steps into the broader galactic community. He paused, noting the attentive expressions of the humans. However, he continued, his voice taking on a harder edge, the Confederation leadership believes it is time to reassess the terms of our arrangement. The technology transfer agreements have been disproportionately favorable to Earth. Moving forward, we propose significant increases in the exchange rates for all technological sharing, particularly in the areas of propulsion, energy generation, and defensive systems. A murmur ran through the chamber. Director Parker's expression remained neutral, but Admiral Thompson's eyes narrowed slightly. Captain Tull, Parker said carefully, this proposal represents a substantial departure from the preliminary terms your government communicated to us. We were led to believe this meeting would involve only minor adjustments to the existing framework. Circumstances changed, Director, Vorex replied smoothly. The Confederation has reassessed its position based on recent economic analyses. This was a lie, and from Plex's subtle skin color change, his executive officer knew it. But Vorex pressed on. Furthermore, we believe it is time for Earth to acknowledge its dependency on Confederation technology and adjust its diplomatic posture accordingly. Your rapid advancement has been impressive, but let's not forget who made it possible. Now the murmurs in the chamber grew louder. Admiral Thompson leaned over and whispered something to Director Parker, who nodded slightly. Captain, Parker said, his voice still measured but cooler, Earth has always expressed its gratitude for Confederation assistance. However, we view our relationship as one of mutual benefit and respect between sovereign entities. The tone of your proposal suggests something different. The tone reflects reality, Director, Vorex said, ignoring Plex's warning look. Earth is a junior partner in this relationship. A promising one, certainly, but still developing. The Confederation has thousands of member worlds, many with civilizations far older and more advanced than yours. It would be beneficial for all if Earth recognized its proper place in the galactic hierarchy. The chamber fell silent. Admiral Thompson's expression had hardened into something dangerous, and even the most diplomatic-looking humans were sitting straighter in their seats. Director Parker took a moment before responding. Captain Tull, I believe we should adjourn for a brief recess to consider your perspective. Perhaps 1 hour would be sufficient. Of course, Wards agreed, feeling satisfied. The humans were clearly rattled. Good, they should be. As the Confederation team was escorted to a luxurious waiting area, Plex confronted Vorex. Captain, what are you doing? He hissed, his skin now a vivid blue of extreme agitation. This directly contradicts our instructions. You are antagonizing them deliberately. I'm establishing our dominance, Vorex replied calmly. Watch how quickly they come back with concessions. But when the session resumed an hour later, the human delegation had changed. Director Parker was still present, but Admiral Thompson had been replaced by a severe-looking human male with white hair and cold eyes. He wore a different uniform with more elaborate insignia. Captain Tull, Director Parker began, allow me to introduce General Victor Blackburn, Supreme Commander of Earth's Combined Defense Forces. He has asked to address the Confederation delegation directly. Vorex felt a flicker of uncertainty but nodded graciously. Of course. General Blackburn didn't smile as he spoke. Captain, I will be brief. Earth appreciates its relationship with the Galactic Confederation. We have learned much from your people and we hope to continue learning. But let me be absolutely clear about something. He leaned forward slightly. Earth is not a junior partner. We are not subordinate to the Confederation or any other galactic power. We are a sovereign world that chooses its alliances carefully and values them accordingly. Your proposal and, more troublingly, your tone suggest a fundamental misunderstanding of our position. Vorex's tentacles twitched with irritation. General, with all due respect. I'm not finished, Blackburn interrupted, his voice like steel. 50 years ago, your people approached us. You offered technology in exchange for resources and cultural exchange. We accepted because it was mutually beneficial. But make no mistake, Captain, we would have reached the stars with or without your help. Perhaps more slowly, but we would have gotten there. Whispers of agreement echoed through the chamber. Furthermore, the general continued, while we appreciate the technology the Confederation has shared, you should know that we haven't been merely copying your designs. We have been improving them, adapting, in many cases completely reinventing them based on principles your scientists haven't fully explored. Vorex scoffed. That's a bold claim, General. It's not a claim, Captain. It's a fact. Our scientists have already developed propulsion systems more efficient than anything in the Confederation fleet. Our quantum computing networks operate on principles your engineers are still theorizing about. And our defensive capabilities, he paused meaningfully. Well, let's just say the Crixians learned about those firsthand. The chamber was utterly silent now. So, Blackburn concluded, we are happy to continue our alliance with the Confederation on terms of mutual respect and benefit. But if you are operating under the delusion that Earth needs the Confederation more than the Confederation needs Earth, I suggest you reconsider. Vorex felt his skin flush with anger and embarrassment. This human was threatening him, threatening the Galactic Confederation, in front of an entire chamber of witnesses. General, he said, struggling to keep his voice steady, your accomplishments are impressive for such a young species. But the Confederation has resources and capabilities beyond your comprehension. It would be unwise to what, Captain? Blackburn interrupted again. To stand up for ourselves? To decline an unfair proposal? Or are you implying something else entirely? The tension in the room was palpable. Plex shifted uncomfortably beside Vorkris, while the rest of the Confederation team looked increasingly distressed. I am simply suggesting, Vorex said carefully, that Earth's position would be stronger within a more integrated relationship with the Confederation, rather than maintaining this illusion of complete independence. Director Parker stepped in smoothly. Perhaps, Captain, we should focus on specific terms rather than philosophical positions. The Global Council has prepared a counter-proposal that we believe addresses some of your concerns while maintaining the spirit of our existing relationship. A data tablet was passed to Vorex. As he reviewed the contents, his irritation grew. The humans had made only the most minimal concessions, while adding clauses that would give them even more access to Confederation scientific databases. "This is unacceptable," Vorex declared, setting the tablet down harder than necessary. "The Confederation requires more substantial adjustments to continue our technology sharing program." General Blackburn smiled for the first time, but it was not a pleasant expression. "Then perhaps we should discontinue it." "What?" Vorex was genuinely shocked. "If the terms are no longer beneficial to both parties, there's no reason to continue," Blackburn explained calmly. "Earth has already learned a great deal. We are grateful for that knowledge, but we don't need to be dependent on it moving forward." Vorex stared at the human in disbelief. This was not how negotiations were supposed to go. The humans should be desperate to maintain access to Confederation technology, willing to make significant concessions to keep it flowing. "You are bluffing," he said finally. Blackburn shrugged. "Call it then." The two stared at each other across the table. In that moment, Vorex made a decision that would change the course of galactic history. "Perhaps," he said slowly, "a demonstration of Confederation power would help clarify Earth's position in our relationship." Plex grabbed his arm. "Captain, no." But Vorex was already activating his secure communicator. "Zirin, execute Protocol Omega. Target, the human lunar colony. Minimal casualties, maximum impact." The humans reacted instantly. Guards surged forward, weapons drawn. Admiral Thompson, who had remained in the chamber, barked orders into her own communication device. General Blackburn didn't move, but his eyes hardened to flints. "What have you done?" Director Parker demanded. Vorex straightened to his full height. "I have ordered a precision strike on your lunar colony. Don't worry, we have calculated the impact to destroy only infrastructure, not life support systems. Consider it a reminder of the technological gap between our civilizations." The room erupted into chaos. Plex was shouting at Vorex. Human security personnel were surrounding the Confederation delegation, and the council members were being evacuated. But through it all, General Blackburn remained seated, watching Vorex with an expression that had shifted from anger to something like pity. "Captain Tull," he said, his voice somehow cutting through the tumult, "you have made a terrible mistake." Vorex's communicator buzzed. He activated, expecting to hear Zrin's confirmation of the strike. Instead, the tactical officer's voice was panicked. "Captain, Earth defense systems have activated. Hundreds of platforms they are surrounding the ship. Energy readings off the charts. We are being painted by targeting systems from all directions." "Impossible," Vorex breathed. "Our sensors would have detected—" "They were cloaked, sir. Some technology we have never seen." "Captain, they are demanding our immediate surrender." The communication cut off abruptly. In the sudden silence, Admiral Thompson approached Vorex, her own communicator in hand. "Your ship has been neutralized, Captain. The antimatter torpedo has been safely removed from your weapons bay and is now in our possession. Your crew is unharmed but confined to quarters. The inevitable conquest is now under Earth control." Vorex's mind reeled. How had they known about the torpedo? How had they neutralized his ship so quickly? General Blackburn finally stood. "Captain Tull, you are under arrest for attempting an act of war against Earth. Your diplomatic team will be detained until we can determine their level of involvement in your scheme." As human security officers moved to take him into custody, Vorex looked desperately at Plex. How? How did they do this? Plex's expression was a mixture of anger and resignation. "I warned you, Captain. Everyone warned you. There's a reason the Confederation has one absolute rule about Earth. Don't threaten humanity's home." General Blackburn finished, overheating them. "It's really that simple." As Vorex was led away, he finally understood the truth that the Confederation had been trying to tell him all along. Humanity wasn't a junior partner playing at galactic politics. They were a sleeping giant that the Confederation had been carefully trying not to wake, and he, in his arrogance, had just poked it with a very sharp stick. He could only hope the consequences wouldn't be as devastating as the fate that had befallen the Crixians. The holding cell was uncomfortably small for someone of Vorex's physiology. His tentacles kept brushing against the smooth walls, sending little shivers of discomfort through his nervous system. The humans had been surprisingly accommodating, adjusting the atmospheric composition and temperature to suit his biology, but the psychological effect of confinement was taking its toll. 3 days had passed since the disastrous diplomatic meeting. 3 days of isolation, interrupted only by brief interrogation sessions with stoic human officials who asked the same questions repeatedly. Who authorized this mission? What were his true orders? Was the Confederation planning further aggression against Earth? Vorex had answered truthfully that his actions were his own, that he had deliberately misinterpreted his orders, that the Confederation had no hostile intentions toward humanity. Whether they believed him was another matter entirely. The door to his cell slid open, revealing a familiar figure. Executive Officer Plex Daruna stood in the doorway, flanked by 2 human guards. His skin was a pale, sickly blue, indicating extreme stress. "Plex," Vorex said, rising quickly. "Are you all right? What's happening? Have they harmed you?" Plex entered the cell, gesturing for the guards to give them privacy. They stepped back but remained visible in the corridor. "No one has harmed me or any of our delegation," Plex said quietly. "The humans have been correct in their treatment of us. More than correct, considering what you attempted." Vorex slumped back onto the simple bench that served as his bed. "I misjudged the situation badly." "That," Plex replied dryly, "is perhaps the greatest understatement in galactic history. Captain, do you have any idea what you have done? The diplomatic fallout is catastrophic. The Confederation Council is in emergency session. The humans have lodged formal protests at the highest levels. But I acted alone," Vorex protested. "I told them that." "Yes, and thankfully, they seem inclined to believe you. The fact that the rest of the diplomatic team was clearly shocked by your actions helped convince them. The Confederation has formally disavowed your actions and recalled Ambassador Trellix from retirement to handle the crisis." Vorex's skin paled. Ambassador Jarlan Trellix was a legendary figure in Confederation diplomacy, known for resolving the notorious Proxima conflict and preventing at least 3 interstellar wars. If they had called him back from retirement, the situation was dire indeed. "What will happen to me?" Vorex asked quietly. Plex's 6 eyes blinked in rapid succession, a sign of deep discomfort. "That's why I'm here. The humans want to show you something before they decide your fate. And Captain, it's not good." Vorex felt his primary heart quicken. "Show me what?" "You will see," Plex said grimly. "Come with me." The human guards escorted them through a series of corridors. Vorex noticed they were moving deeper into the facility, not toward the surface as he might have expected for a prisoner transfer. Eventually they arrived at a large door marked with human symbols he couldn't read. General Blackburn stood waiting, his face impassive as ever. "Captain Toll, Executive Officer Daruna, thank you for joining us." "As if we had a choice," Vorex muttered. Blackburn ignored the comment. "Before the Earth Global Council determines what actions to take regarding your incident, they felt it important for you to understand certain realities about humanity and our place in the galaxy." The general pressed his palm against a scanner, and the massive door slid open, revealing a vast chamber filled with advanced technology. Holographic displays showed solar systems, ship designs, and weapons schematics. Humans in various uniforms and lab attire moved purposefully between workstations. "Welcome to Strategic Operations Command," Blackburn said, leading them inside. "One of several dozen similar facilities around our planet. This one specializes in xenothreat assessment and response." Vorex tried to take in everything at once. The technology was far more advanced than anything humans should possess based on Confederation intelligence. Some of it appeared to be derived from Confederation designs, but much of it was completely unfamiliar. "Impossible," he breathed. "You keep using that word," Blackburn remarked. "I don't think it means what you think it means." The general led them to a central platform where Admiral Thompson was waiting with several other humans in uniform. "Admiral," Blackburn nodded. "Our guests are here." "Good," Thompson replied, her eyes cold as she regarded Vorex. "Let's begin the briefing." A massive holographic display activated above the platform, showing the solar system. Earth glowed blue at the center, with all its planets, moons, and artificial satellites represented in exquisite detail. "Computer," Thompson commanded, "display perimeter defense network. Authorization Thompson Alpha 7 Gamma." The hologram transformed. Thousands of tiny points of light appeared throughout the solar system, a vast interlocking web of defensive platforms, monitoring stations, and what appeared to be weapons emplacements. They extended from Mercury's orbit all the way to the Kuiper Belt. This is just the outer layer of Earth's defensive grid, Thompson explained, built over the past 40 years using principles derived from but greatly improving upon Confederation designs. But our sensors detected nothing like this when we arrived. Vorik said, his voice barely audible. Of course not. Blackburn replied with a small, humorless smile that would defeat the purpose. Computer display quantum stealth protocol. The hologram shifted again, showing a complex array of energy fields surrounding each platform. Quantum phase shifting, Thompson explained. The platforms exist slightly out of sync with normal space-time. Undetectable by conventional sensors, yet able to become fully present in microseconds when activated. Plax moved closer to the display, his scientific curiosity temporarily overriding his distress. This is decades beyond current Confederation stealth technology. Yes, Thompson agreed simply. It is. Computer. Blackburn continued. Display operation Crixian response, historical recording. The hologram changed again, now showing a fleet of alien vessels, sleek, predatory ships that Vorik recognized as Crixian warships. They were arranged in attack formation around Earth. 10 years ago, Blackburn narrated, the Crixian Empire sent 57 warships to, in their words, establish a permanent security presence in the Sol system. They did not request permission. They did not respond to diplomatic overtures. They simply arrived and declared their intentions. The hologram showed the Crixian fleet moving closer to Earth. Suddenly, hundreds of defense platforms appeared, surrounding the alien vessels. We activated our defense grid. Blackburn continued. The Crixians were given one opportunity to withdraw. They responded by opening fire. The hologram depicted the ensuing battle, if battle was even the right word. Energy beams lanced out from the human platforms, striking the Crixian ships with surgical precision. The alien vessels attempted to return fire, but their weapons seemed to pass harmlessly through the human defenses. Phase shifting works both ways, Thompson commented. Our platforms can attack while remaining partially out of phase, making them nearly impossible to target effectively. Within minutes of simulated time, the entire Crixian fleet was disabled, their engines and weapons systems destroyed with pinpoint accuracy. We took the Crixian crews prisoner, Blackburn said. No casualties on either side. But the Crixian Empire wasn't satisfied. They sent a second fleet twice as large with orders to, and I quote, pacify the human infestation. The hologram reset, now showing over 100 Crixian warships approaching Earth. This time the defense platforms were joined by smaller vessels that Vorik hadn't seen before, human ships. Their designs unlike anything in the Confederation database. Our Phantom-class interceptors, Thompson explained, completely human designed, utilizing principles your scientists haven't discovered yet. The second simulated engagement was even more one-sided than the first. The human ships and platforms systematically dismantled the Crixian fleet, targeting propulsion and weapons systems with impossible precision. Again we took prisoners, Blackburn continued. Again we offered to resolve the conflict diplomatically. The Crixian response was to dispatch their planet killer to the Sol system. Vorik felt his stomach clench. The Crixian planet killer was legendary, a massive vessel capable of inducing artificial solar flares that could sterilize entire worlds. Even the Confederation had nothing comparable in its arsenal. The hologram showed the enormous Crixian vessel emerging from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the solar system. At this point, Blackburn said quietly, we determined that the Crixian Empire represented an existential threat to humanity that could not be resolved peacefully. What happened next made Vorik's tentacles go limp with shock. A handful of small human vessels approached the planet killer. They didn't fire weapons, they simply disappeared, only to reappear inside the massive Crixian ship. Quantum tunneling technology, Thompson said. Our ships teleported directly into the heart of their vessel. Special forces teams neutralized the crew and seized control of the planet killer within 17 minutes. That's... Vorik couldn't find words. Impossible, Blackburn suggested with raised eyebrows, and yet it happened. The hologram changed again, now showing a star map of Crixian territory. After capturing the planet killer, Blackburn continued, we accessed its navigation system and obtained the coordinates of every major Crixian military installation. We then dispatched a diplomatic envoy to the Crixian homeworld with terms for their unconditional surrender. They refused, Thompson added. their emperor apparently said, and again I quote, "We will reduce Earth to ashes even if it takes 1,000 years." "So we demonstrated our resolve," Blackburn said softly. The hologram showed a single human vessel, small, sleek, almost beautiful in its design, appearing near a massive Crixian space station. The station simply vanished. Not exploded, not destroyed. It ceased to exist. "Localized space-time inversion," Thompson explained clinically. "The station was removed from our universe entirely. No debris, no radiation, no casualties, just gone." Vorex felt his legs weaken. He grabbed onto a nearby console to steady himself. "We performed the same operation on 7 key military installations throughout Crixian space," Blackburn continued, "all uninhabited, all purely military targets. 7 demonstrations. Then we sent another diplomatic envoy. They surrendered." Plex whispered. "Yes." Blackburn nodded. "They did. The Crixian Empire, which had conquered 17 worlds and terrorized that sector of space for centuries, surrendered unconditionally to Earth. But the Crixian Empire no longer exists," Vorex said. "They are gone." "Not gone," Thompson corrected. "Transformed. Under the terms of surrender, they disbanded their military, adopted a democratic system of government, and joined the Sol Alliance, a coalition of worlds under human protection." The hologram shifted again, showing a region of space with dozens of worlds highlighted in green. The Sol Alliance now includes 37 former Crixian worlds, plus 23 other systems that have voluntarily joined our coalition since then, Blackburn explained, "all flourishing, all at peace. But the Confederation has no knowledge of this Solar Alliance." Vorex protested weakly. Blackburn smiled thinly. "We have kept a low profile. Humans prefer to avoid unnecessary attention. But make no mistake, Captain Tull, we are not the primitive, dependent species you imagined us to be." The hologram deactivated, plunging the platform into relative darkness. "So now you understand," Thompson said. "The reason the Confederation has that one rule, don't threaten humanity's home, isn't because we are valuable trading partners or because we have resources you want. It's because we are far more dangerous than you could possibly imagine." Vorex felt dizzy with the implications. If you have all this power, why continue relations with the Confederation at all? Why not simply take what you want? Blackburn and Thompson exchanged looks of what seemed like genuine surprise. "Because we are not conquerors, Captain," Thompson said. "We have never wanted to dominate the galaxy. We just want to be left in peace, to develop at our own pace, make our own mistakes, forge our own destiny. The Confederation has generally been respectful of that wish." But Blackburn added, "You are the first to test our boundaries in a very long time." Plex, who had been silent throughout most of the demonstration, finally spoke. "What happens now?" "That," said a new voice, "is what we must determine." An elderly human female entered the platform, leaning slightly on a cane. Despite her apparent physical frailty, she radiated authority. Both Blackburn and Thompson straightened perceptibly at her arrival. "President Nadia Okafor," Blackburn introduced her, head of the Earth Global Council. Vorex instinctively lowered his eye stalks in deference. Even he could recognize power when he saw it. "Captain Tull," President Okafor said, her voice surprisingly strong, "you attempted to attack my people. On another world, in another time, that would be an act of war justifying the most severe response." Vorex trembled slightly. After what he had just witnessed, he had no doubt that humans could eradicate his entire species if they chose to. "However," she continued, "we are not barbarians, and we understand that you acted without authorization from your government. The Confederation has apologized profusely for your actions and has agreed to accept whatever punishment we deem appropriate for you personally." "I understand," Vorex said quietly. "Do you?" President Okafor tilted her head. "I wonder, tell me, Captain, what have you learned today?" Vorex considered carefully before answering. "That appearances can be deceiving. That humanity is far more advanced and powerful than the Confederation realizes. That you could destroy us all if you wished." President Okafor sighed. "You still don't understand. Admiral, General, I'd like a moment alone with the captain." Thompson and Blackburn looked concerned but nodded respectfully. "Yes, Madam President, we will be outside if you need us." Everyone else filed out of the room, leaving Vorex alone with the elderly human. She gazed at him thoughtfully for a long moment. "Captain Tull, let me tell you a story," she finally said. 75 years ago, before the Confederation contacted us, humanity was on the brink of self-destruction. We had poisoned our air, polluted our oceans, destabilized our climate, and developed weapons that could render our entire planet uninhabitable. We fought senseless wars over resources, ideology, and ancient hatreds. She began to walk slowly around the platform, her cane tapping gently on the floor. Then we discovered we weren't alone in the universe. Your people arrived offering friendship and knowledge. It changed everything. Not because of the technology you shared, though that was valuable, but because it gave us perspective. We realized how petty our divisions were in the face of a vast, diverse galaxy. She stopped and looked directly at Vorex. The greatest gift the Confederation gave us wasn't faster-than-light travel or advanced medicine or clean energy. It was unity. For the first time in our bloody history, all of humanity came together with a common purpose: to take our place among the stars. President Okafor's expression softened. So we dedicated ourselves to learning, to growing, to becoming better than we had been. We took your technology not as a crutch, but as inspiration. We studied it, improved it, and then moved beyond it, not to dominate or conquer, but because exploration and innovation are fundamental to who we are. She moved closer to Vorex. Yes, we could destroy your worlds. We could conquer the Confederation if we chose to. But what would be the point? What would it accomplish except more suffering, more fear, more hatred? We have had enough of that in our history. For the first time, Vorex began to truly understand. You are saying that despite your power, you choose peace. Not despite our power, Captain. Because of it. President Okafor smiled gently. True strength isn't about domination. It's about restraint, about using power responsibly. She touched a control on her wrist, and a small hologram appeared between them. Earth, beautiful and blue. This is our home, the only one we had for thousands of years. We nearly destroyed it once through arrogance and short-sightedness. We won't make that mistake again, nor will we allow others to threaten it. That's why we have developed these capabilities, not to rule the galaxy but to ensure that humanity never again faces extinction. The hologram expanded to show Earth surrounded by its web of defenses. The irony, Captain Tull, is that your attempted show of force has now forced us to reveal capabilities we have kept hidden for decades. Your actions may fundamentally alter the balance of power in the galaxy, not because we wish it, but because you gave us no choice. Vorex lowered his eye stalks in genuine shame. What will happen to me? You will be returned to the Confederation, along with records of everything you have seen here. Your government will determine your fate. But know this, if you ever again threaten Earth or any world under our protection, there will be no second chance. President Okafor turned to leave, then paused. One more thing, Captain. When you return, tell your leaders this. Humanity welcomes friendship with the Confederation. We value the relationship we have built. But we deal only with equals, never with masters. With that she left, leaving Vorex alone with his thoughts. 2 days later, Vorex found himself back aboard the inevitable Conquest, now under Plex's command. The ship had been returned to the Confederation, though key weapons systems remained disabled as a precaution. As they prepared to depart Earth orbit, Plex joined Vorex in his quarters, now serving as a comfortable but secure brig until they reached Confederation space. The crew is asking questions, Plex said. They know something significant happened, but they don't know what. Vorex stared out the viewport at the beautiful blue planet below. They will learn soon enough. The Confederation Council will receive the full report. Do you think they will believe it? Plex asked. The Sol Alliance? The quantum technology? The space-time inversion weapons? They will have to, Vorex replied. The humans provided extensive evidence, and our own sensors recorded enough during the confrontation to corroborate their claims. Plex shifted uncomfortably. This will change everything. It already has, Vorex said quietly. The balance of power, the diplomatic calculations, the military strategies, all based on assumptions that have proven catastrophically wrong. What will happen to you when we return? Vorex laughed bitterly. Best case, permanent removal from service and exile to some remote colony world. Worst case, well, the Confederation has always dealt harshly with those who endanger its security. He turned from the viewport to face his former executive officer. But whatever happens to me, remember this, Plex. Remember it and make sure everyone in the Confederation understands there's one rule in the galaxy that must never be broken. Don't threaten humanity's home, Lex finished solemnly. No, Vorix corrected him. The rule is simpler than that. The rule is, don't underestimate humans. Ever. As the inevitable conquest engaged its engines and moved away from Earth, Vorix took one last look at the seemingly insignificant blue planet. From orbit it appeared so vulnerable, so isolated in the vastness of space. Yet that small world had accomplished in decades what other species hadn't managed in millennia. And as the ship accelerated toward the jump point, Vorix couldn't help wondering what humanity might become in another century or two. The thought was both thrilling and terrifying. Whatever the future held, one thing was certain: the galaxy